engaged in total war in the Middle Ages to like the 17 to the 1900s. It would have been way more devastating. You would have European countries with a fraction of the elites that they did, and that's basically what happens between 1850s to 1920s. You see more of the aristocracy dying in these wars and basically dying out little by little, right? Their casualty rates, like if you look at Eton, right, in Britain, right, the aristocrats of Eton had a higher casualty rate than the average soldier from Eton, ETON, right? Their very records show you that. So the aristocracy's mortality rate was 30%. The average Eton middle class, working class dude was 20%. So you can literally see it was more dangerous to be like an aristocrat in World War One, right? For example.
Oh yeah, no, they got like entire swaths of their aristocracy wiped out because they all volunteered
Hmm.
right away. However,
Absolutely.
like we're talking America now because that was
Yeah.
where we started. So like, what would be the issue with all these different states or geographical areas, nations, if you will, waging war, not only economic but also physical, on each other throughout the future
No.
of
Yeah.
the continent?
Yeah. I like so the founding fathers. If you read their writings, they didn't want um, Americans to be divided by the Europeans and then engaging in internal war. They wanted to be unified to remain separate. And then, like all the founding fathers had different visions of America. Hamilton wanted us to be a militaristic empire that was so strong that the European powers wouldn't dare to stop us from doing trade with the rest of the world. Um, and so he was the inspiration for like current America actually.
I th-
And Jefferson wanted to make a global democratic trade confederation where all the democracies of the world would link up to trade with each other and to protect each other. And he also wanted the system in which our allies who are in this democratic alliance with us would be able to vote in our own country. So that open borders anarchism, even Jefferson was into that shit. Actually, he wanted like foreigners to be able to, you know, um, vote in this country. He wanted other people who are democratic to be able to vote in America. And I
Yeah,
have
I
the
mean
quotes to back that up.
Jefferson was like a hell of a utopian, right? At the end of the day, but I think what Cappy's saying, and like
Yeah.
this is so this conversation, like it started off with, we need to like biologically like fucking assimilate the fucking black population of the country, right? You know what I mean? And like that way, like you can end all like the racial tensions and all the bullshit to go with it. But like, wouldn't it be easier if you had like smaller blocks of like countries rather than having it be like one giant, like fucking empire? Where it makes this like damn near impossible because like you need this to become like almost homogenous, right? At the end of the day, wouldn't it be easier with like a
Yeah, I
smaller
mean, you're
country?
arguing against the nationalism versus the republicanism of America, but like according to Paul Godfrey, like that nationalist, I mean, the republicanism has basically died out. Like, there's no way of bringing it back because even Hamilton was pushing for economic nationalism of the Confederation, right, where all the 13 states are
We're
doing
talking
free
about
trade with each other.
balkanization.
Yeah, we're talking about
I get exactly what you're talking
balkanizing now,
about.
right? Like, because like
I
this
know.
is where we're
Yes,
going,
I
right?
understand
Like
exactly
right
what you're
right
talking
now
about,
in
bro. Like,
2025,
yes,
balkanization.
I get
Yeah.
it. I get it. But I don't know. Look, I'm not disagreeing with you guys that there's benefits to balkanization. I'm not, and I would generally agree with you guys under certain conditions.
I
I'm
don't know
just
anymore.
there's just so many different groups of people and religions in America now that this balkanization process is just going to be like. Imagine if you put like the instead of Europe, imagine like if different countries and religions around the world were all stuck in Europe together. That's what I see in America happening, and it's not going to look good. It's not going to look good.
Well,
Like the only way we're able to stop like Hindus from building like temples everywhere and Muslims everywhere is because we're still the majority. Um, I don't know. Even look, from my perspective, there's a sickness within the whites right now due to all these ideologies, and until they fix that first, it doesn't matter what they try. They're still fucked from my perspective.
I
Like white
don't.
Wignats will be like, one last
Totally
thing.
agree.
Wignats will say,
Korean.
look, Wignats will say, yeah, yeah. Wignats will say that if we got rid of all the minorities in America, we would have no problems. And I guarantee you, the moment you do that, even if you were able to do that, all the white women would still support gay rights, white gay rights, white poverty rights, white
Okay with
retard
that.
rights, white,
No, they would.
disabled rights, white trans rights. They
So
would.
why are
So
women
the
having
problem
rights?
isn't the minority; it's the fact that whites don't have the balls to rule their country anymore. That's the problem.
Yeah, because
Actually,
it's been
if
too
the white
long.
elite were just going to say, look, you blacks don't have rights until you fucking fix yourselves, and you're going to have lower rights until you do, we wouldn't be in this situation.
You're not
Well,
going to
Right.
change a biological fucking like circumstance with the rule of power. Like blacks are just inherently.
No,
You
but you
will.
can
You
have
will.
differentiation in rights, which is what we did historically,
You
right?
cannot.
So blacks
And
didn't
you
have
won't.
the right to vote. Blacks didn't have the right to right.
We brought them here and we gave them educations throughout this. We tried to make them white in the 60s and they became dumber than the actual Africans in Africa.
No, that's not
I don't
true.
know
So
about
what I would
that.
argue is that
Yeah, they
when
did.
white racists were better at assimilating blacks than white progressives, is what I would say. Until the 1950s and 60s, you had blacks who went to church, who wore their Sunday best, who were 99.9% of them were had jobs and employed. Their literacy rate was going up. Their jobs were getting better. Because the white
lived
racists didn't
among
give them any
themselves.
excuses. One second, right? The white racists wouldn't give them any excuses, and they would beat them into submission. Once white progressives from the north came into the action, and they started like being nicer to them, that's when things started fucking up. It's actually
well,
LBJ's Great Society and the welfare programs post World War II that did the most damage. If you
Yeah,
look at
Johnson
black
fucked
families,
it
they
up.
were
Totally.
pretty well united. Absolutely. So if it wasn't for white liberals getting involved, the blacks would have been a Christian dominant society. Not only that, let's think about in the modern time. Which group of people in America who are the most anti-gay group of people in America? Black men. Black men have historically been the most anti-gay group of people that we had to, white men had to like suppress into saying, hey, saying, calling someone a faggot is bad. That's what we did to them. So,
I feel you're right, but like,
from my yeah,
I just seen stats here the other week that like actually the black community has the highest rate of homosexuality. Now that being
yeah, but that's
besides
also
the
due
point, that
to
being besides the
that's
point,
LBJ.
right?
Yeah, that's LBJ again. Yeah.
You want to know why it worked out for the blacks? Because they were not part of a homogenous society; they were part of their own thing, right?
They were
Like
separate.
Yeah,
Their own
segregation helps too.
it was
Yeah, and
segregation,
I'm
right?
not against. Yeah, yeah. I
So
don't. I'm not against segregation. I'm
so
okay
then
with that.
why are we arguing for mixing with these people when they did best within their own segregation?
it's true. They did.
No, no. The problem is if you have democracy, then you're giving blacks rights to vote. Then you're going to have this. Them being used by white liberals, just like the white liberals
What does that
used
have
the
to do with
Irish for vote
anything I
in the
just said?
1800s. No,
No,
it
no, no.
has a
What
lot
you're
to do with
doing
everything you
is
just
right.
said.
So
Hold
like
up.
this is the thing, right? Eventually, you're going to have to like deal with like what like this is a historical like mistake of like white folks is literally like standing here going like, yeah, we're gonna grab a whole group of people who never invented agriculture or the wheel. When we found them, they were basically in the goddamn Stone Age, and
Correct.
it's not their fault. It's because like a TT fly or whatever the case is. But like we brought them here and we never dealt with them. You know what I mean? Like we never had
Correct.
that conversation of
Absolutely.
going like, what do we do? You know what I mean, with these fucking people because like they need to be able to like evolve. And the best thing that you can do is biologically assimilate them. Right? That's the absolute best fucking thing
And
that
if
you
you're
can do
not
with
going to
them.
do that, then you need correct. And if you're not going to do that, then you need to segregate them and to let them be ruled by like whites who know how to deal with them
Mhm.
and to be there like
Or
yeah.
we give them
Rhodesia,
Or
territory, right?
Rhodesia comes to mind.
And if we don't want to give them territory, then we take the nuclear option.
Yeah,
What?
we're not going to do that.
eugenics.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, like
This is all
I don't know.
hypotheticals, right? Because there's no shot that
Yeah,
any
but
of
then
this is
there's like
actually going to work.
hypotheticals that could work, and then there's hypotheticals that don't even make sense and not in the realm
Well,
of
no. What's
possibility.
going to happen is they're going to either assimilate, or they're just going to wipe everybody around them out.
Well, they already are assimilated.
Like let's
right?
be
Now,
fair
like
here.
since
Hold up.
since
Let's
the
be fair
19
here.
wait
There's like a
since
good
since the 1980s, right? When you know, what I
Mhm.
mean, like you had a mass amount of like just like opening up of like all of society through drugs and alcohol and disco, all that shit. Like the amount of interracial breeding has just fucking like exploded, right? You know, what I mean, it's fucking like it's happening now, right? You know, what I mean, so like either you embrace that, right? Because like now, literally, like you're mixing with white. So what do you do with like all these white women who have black kids? right? What do you do with like
drop
these
your
black, like these,
IQ
and these,
for 3
what,
centuries.
huh?
You drop your ability for problem solving for 3 fucking centuries
What do you
because
mean?
we couldn't throw the black people out.
Yeah, I mean, again, like so this is some shit you have to deal with. Like I had this conversation, like in my Substack, I said, like this is like a blood like this is a blood debt that's owed, right? You know, I mean, this
Bro,
is some
This
shit
is
that
who
we
would
just
have
pay
to
something
for
deal
that
with.
3
you can
million
easily
slaves
fix.
to be exported back to fucking Africa? Do you know how expensive that is? Like back in
43
the
million.
1800s, bro, without a strong federal government, where are you going to get that money from?
And
Nowhere.
Africa
Then they
can't
were
deal
all
with
gonna
them.
die
What's
anyway.
going to
Like, half of
happen?
them died during the voyage from fucking Africa to.
Yeah, and
Yeah, it was
Africa can't
disastrous.
deal with
Absolutely.
43 million human beings coming over who don't have like the culture
Not
of Africa.
my problem,
I mean, it
right?
is. It
You
fucking
know
is.
what
It's the
happens
problem.
when you have a debt to the bank that you can't pay off? Like you don't have enough money to pay off said debt to the bank. There isn't enough in existence. You burn the fucking bank down and you start
It's a
again.
bit,
Yeah, that's what you need.
it's a bit like the American debt, where it's never going to be a problem because nobody's really going to leverage it.
Just stop paying. Just stop paying debt. Just start debt maxing. That's what you
That
start
was not the
doing.
point of that. Debt was a metaphor.
Yeah, I
I know
mean,
that
like
was another
literally
part.
the
Yeah, but
answer is
let's
to
go
like,
reasonable.
you know what I'm saying? Like fucking, like
Oh,
assimilate them biologically. That's the fucking answer.
So
yo,
make them
Honest-
I
light
gotta
skin.
send something to you real
That's
quick.
going to create a lot of mutt children, though. That's the problem with that.
That's
Yeah,
fine. I'm fine.
yo,
So
listen,
they're going to be
yo,
like
at
white
No,
first,
but
children.
eventually, over time, over a long enough period of time, like you won't even see black people in America, though.
We're just gonna be
You're not going to
Indians.
see white people either. You're going to see like gray, sluggish, glop people. You know,
I
No,
they're
mean,
going to be like flip
no.
flop and mud
Like
flop.
if this was done earlier, if this was done in the 1800s when there were 35 million whites in America
Now
and 3 million
We
blacks, it
never
would have
would have
been
made
much
it to the
easier.
moon.
Exactly. Now it's a little bit harder. I agree with you. But back then, it would have been a lot like easier to do.
It is still
If
majority
we
It
white.
wouldn't have been
started,
perfect, but
if
The
we
US.
started interbreeding with the blacks in the 1870s, we never would have fucking like made it to the moon or done any of the shit that was
yes,
actually
we would
like
have. It would actually have
no,
been
that's
easier.
bullshit. That's bullshit. That's retarded to say. Like, German and Jew scientists who came here in the 1940s, like they had nothing to do with whites. Like, what are you talking about? They
but
came here separately
did
in
we
the
not invent
1940s.
a bunch of technology like I don't know 20 years
Name
beforehand
name
in World
again.
War
Yo,
II,
all
right?
of them were either Jews, Germans, or Italians.
Mm.
Yeah, that's
I
what you're
don't
not
mean I'm
realizing.
not
Like,
talking
even the
immense.
last
I'm
100
talking like
years, most
who
of the
invented the
developments in
airplane?
the West that were done by,
Wait. Who invented what, buddy?
I mean,
The airplane. What kind of
the
group of
Wright
people were
brothers.
they? Yeah.
The Wright brothers.
Uh, who
Yeah, but
invented
not
the
all
who
whites were
invented no,
inventing,
I'm
though.
trying to
Hold
fucking
up.
say
This is,
something here. Give me a
oh
minute.
my God.
Who invented the fucking gas powered rifle in America?
Not you.
And no,
Not you and
Wait,
your family,
wait a minute. Wait a
obviously.
minute. Wait a
Not
minute.
you.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Not
Wait.
you.
Hang on. Wait.
It
Here's
was
the thing,
named
though. Who actually invented it, though, Gabby?
Oh, who invented it was John Moses Browning. He was actually a Mormon out west.
Man, that's rough. He was a Mormon. Fuck yeah, hell. Brigham Young's rolling right
Right?
now.
Like anybody who invented our capability to fucking, enact war over here in America generally wasn't fucking black.
Yeah, but they
Actually,
weren't
weren't Mormons
generally
racist
your
as shit? I
people
thought they
either,
believed.
though, or lower class people. They were like all educated middle class or upper class people. That's what you're not getting.
Yeah. The first. All
Like,
right.
they're
So,
not
like,
even you.
okay. All right. Browning was the first one to put it into like massive production, right? But it was actually like the process was invented by a German named Edward Linder in German.
Well, Browning, he got the gas powered system.
Yeah, in 1866, actually the fucking patent. He patented his invention in the United States and Britain in 1866. Englishman William Curtis filed the first patent on a gas operating repeating rifle, but subsequently failed to develop that idea further. Between 1883 and 1885, Hiram Maxim filed several patents on a blowback recoil and gas operation in 1885. 1 year after Maxim gas operated patent, a British inventor called Richard Paulson, who a year before had patented a straight blowback operated rifle and a
What
pistol
year did
again
you
1
say
year
he
after
invented
Maxim's
that?
first. Yeah, listen, Paulson did construct models and tried them in France shortly after filing his patent. Furthermore, AWF Taylorson, a firearms historian his patented revolver was probably workable. In 1887, an American inventor called Henry Pitcher invented a gas operating conversion system that he claimed could be applied to any manually operated magazine rifle. Again, listen. So, and then we got Britain, France, bro.
Regardless, all these people were white. Were they
Yeah, they're
not?
in Europe.
They're not American. They're European. Even if
Yes,
you go back
but all of our
historically,
technology, unless we buy fucking rifles off of Europe, all
Listen,
of the shit that we use
listen.
in
The
active
amount
warfare
of
is
the entire
things.
point of the First
Oh
Amendment was for
boy.
like firearm production at the time.
Yeah, the amount of things that you actually
So
think are like, you know, what I mean, like
so
American
cringe.
inventions that are like other
American. It's
people's.
not American.
Yeah, like yo, how
Bro,
about the
the
telephone?
Dutch were
Who
building telescopes.
who invented the
The
telephone?
Dutch made a microscope in the 1600s before America
okay.
even
So
was
regardless,
moved to.
Who
Right?
invented the telephone?
No, geez.
Who invented the telephone, Cappy?
it wasn't Alexander
It was
Graham
a
Bell.
British guy.
No, it was an Italian. Like it was
Alexander Graham Bell was
no,
not
it was
Italian.
Meucci. Fucking like it was a guy named Meucci, right, in Italy. Right? Who invented electricity? Right? It was the Italians. Who invented who invented nuclear power? Yo, Enrico Fermi. Right? Yo, listen, dog, like all the things that you think are ours are not.
Look,
Yes,
literally
but our ability to
90% of
utilize
the
them
inventions
is
in the
important.
15 to 1700s was done by the English, the Dutch, the Italians, and
Yeah.
the Germans. Those four groups did 90% of the inventions. Every other European didn't do jack squat. Right? So
Yeah.
actually,
The
all
French.
the
Yeah,
things
the
you're
French.
like
Oh,
pushing
wait.
and
The French, dog. The French. Got to
right.
get the French got a lot of credit in there.
Yeah, okay, in French.
Don't sleep on the French.
Yeah,
The
they
French
got a
did a
few
lot.
in there. They got a few in there.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
French got some shit. You know what I mean?
But
Like
we
it
also
wasn't
did-
America.
Yes, but-
America literally because like of the American patent system and the size of its fucking economy and it's like fucking width and breadth and the ability to like fucking do the capitalist venture where you can just like go and do whatever you want without asking permission from anybody allowed us to be able to develop and like fucking sell these things and produce them. But it wasn't something that we invented.
we had the consumer class. We had the
You
consumer
said
class in the
develop there,
1800s.
right? That is what you said.
That what?
You said develop in there, right?
Yeah, I mean, like, we developed them for fucking mass production, right? Because,
Yeah,
like, you
develop them
didn't
for
have
mass
to
production.
worry
What was
about, like,
the
asking a
goal?
You can
noble
process
or,
it,
like,
it
anybody to,
reduce
like,
them.
do any of this shit. You know what I mean?
Easier accessibility, that
Yeah.
sort of stuff.
And
What
easy,
was
it's
the
an
ethnic
easier market to
background
get into. And then, like, the
development
patent
of it?
systems, like, you know what I mean? When you have, like, guys like Meucci who patents his shit, you know what I mean, in, like, fucking 8 different countries in Europe, but then America goes, nah, it's Alexander Graham Bell. Alexander Graham Bell gets the fucking credit, and then you create Bell Atlantic. You know what I mean?
Feel you, right? But like who we develop these things, right? But like who developed these things?
Like, the large
That's what we're
corporate
trying to tell
structures.
you, that a lot of it was done on the back of Europeans. And
Yeah.
then we just corporatized them and
My
patronized
entire
them. That's what we're
point for
trying to
this
explain to
whole
you.
discussion was the fact that black people didn't fucking do this, and if it wasn't for the fact that, like, I don't know, we had like a stock of white people who happened to be of European ancestry, you know, from generally Western Europe, we wouldn't have developed this shit to begin with.
I mean,
Exactly. No, you're
Yeah,
right. Actually.
but hold up. We don't disagree on that, but then like it's only a very small percentage of the white percentage. Like just like when I talk about societies, I'm not talking about their working class or their slave class or their serf class. I'm actually talking about the top 10 to 50,000 at least in their society who are literally designing and making everything work. Okay, so then you think a society is built on the lower classes and middle classes? Me, less so. To some degree, I agree with you. Like the Anglos were a little bit better than the blacks, definitely by a large margin. Actually, they are better, but even when they were better by a large margin, um, I don't know, they weren't inventing things. It was like the top 1% of your society, if that, if even that. That's a lot.
Well, it's still
Even
that way.
1% is a lot.
But we
Correct.
don't
It's
really
always
have
been that way throughout human history.
we don't have an aristocracy system though here in America, right? It's a
What?
liberalist system. Is
No,
that
we
not
do.
true?
We have a non-hereditary, voluntary, mercantilist aristocracy. Anyone who can make more than $1 million is, or 800,000 a year, or 500,000 a year, you're essentially an upper class merchant aristocrat.
yeah, and
That's why you have the old rich and the nouveau rich. You have the old riche, right, and the nouveau riche. You have the That's why you have the hillbilly, millionaires who people hate and make fun of in the 1900s because they got
True.
rich off of oil or whatever in the South, so they hated them. And they're like, no, they're different. They just got money. They're not from our old school, wealthy aristocratic merchant classes of the last 500 years, right?
yeah, like we had this conversation on my Substack, bro. Like fucking, I wrote that whole piece about Tim Pool versus Adam Conover. Adam Conover, right? You know what I'm saying? That fucking weirdo ass motherfucker. Adam from Adam Ruins Everything. His
Old stock,
family,
Mayflower stock, right?
yeah. His family came over, right, and fucking like they were handed the 6th farm in all of North America.
All right, but
right? Like,
I'm still trying to go somewhere with this, right? Because at the end of the day, now that we have a liberalist system, as far as like even up into the aristocracy, where it's voluntary, it's basically like a CEO
Yeah.
board, and we don't have shit. I fucking before like 5 minutes ago, I fucking had
It's
it.
not a monarchy or something.
Essentially, we don't have the social cohesion to prevent the entirety of society from mixing with these people. And there's so many that it would generally affect our pool of genetics. Like, did you know the top caste of India actually used to be fucking of Aryan stock, that being from the Caucasus? I think it was the predecessors to the Assyrians, was it not?
Yeah, like thousands of years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What? How
Yeah,
smart
same
are they
with
there?
there's no, and this is an aspect I don't disagree with you on. I don't disagree that the Yamnayas who came into Europe bringing their military aristocratic democracy is what changed Europe from being like peaceful farmers to what they are now. But I'm saying that all of that blood is generally in the aristocracy of Europe, whether it's the German nobles, the Roman nobles, whether it's the British aristocracy.
I don't
These
think
are
so.
all the military. Say it again.
I think it's also the working class and like everyone.
Dog, you missed the
need-
forest for the trees.
Yeah.
That's just not what I'm talking
I don't
about.
think
Like how
so.
Tom was talking about with the you know how we should mix with all the black people. Genetically fucking homogenize the entire
Start
continent.
mud maxing.
Right,
Was that? Yeah.
me and Pinoid are only talking in terms of what would be the best way out of this problem without thinking about all those externalities. Like
Why can't we
we're
just
just
support
talking
them
in the
all?
Black people.
vacuum. Why they,
Because
and
that'd be
this
too
would have been
expensive.
the way.
Just exterminate them. Kill
Look,
them.
look,
That'd be
look.
too expensive.
No, but
Wait.
Willie, like you have to realize it's really expensive because if America didn't have workers' rights and labor was really cheap, then I would agree with you because everything would be cheaper. Because we've had worker rights, everything is more expensive to do in America.
Well, no,
Everything, building a home,
because we don't have
sending
workers'
people
rights, we
away,
have
it
more
is.
immigrants.
no,
If
like,
we
yo,
had
so like,
workers'
all
rights,
right,
there'd be
yo,
less
look,
immigrants
look,
over.
look, 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 look. Here's what this is, right? So like, what we're saying is, right, is that like, yo, you have to assimilate these fucking people. They can't keep being an outside group forever, right? Because like they're never going to like develop on their own the cultural aspects and like the ideologies and like the biology to be able to like be like functioning the way you are. If you keep just isolating them, they're gonna stay the way they've been, right? So like you have to fucking interbreed with them, right? And then interbreed and then interbreed and interbreed until like their population basically just disappears. That's how you fix
Okay, and then we end up like Brazil.
No, you
There's a
don't end up
cancer
like
spot
Brazil.
on
No,
my
no, no.
lawn.
Listen, again, like so like Brazil, right, as a whole, right? Brazil has people who like, like they're in this process, right? But they're not done yet. Right. And they're gonna keep doing it. And by the way, they have 3 different groups, not 2. Right. So like we're talking about
Wait,
2
but
groups.
on top of that, but on top of that, the Spanish aristocracy was a much smaller population of Central and South America, whereas the whites traditionally were a huge majority over the blacks. If you look at the 1860s, there were 3.5 million black slaves, and then 30, maybe 28 to 30 million
You can't turn an
northern and
Indian
white
into an
Southerners.
American. I don't believe that you can. And like also, aren't you the same?
No, but
Aren't you the same guys who want to balkanize America? How's it
Hmm.
going to work if we're all going to
Yeah,
integrate
yeah,
with each
yeah.
other?
So, and
That's
I said it'd
purpose.
be easier if we balkanize the shit, right?
So
Because
what
then you
I'm saying,
actually have like real
like,
nations and culture to assimilate motherfuckers actually into.
That was the original
Maybe it would
idea.
be
So-
easier.
That was the whole point with the what is it? Federalist Papers.
No.
Essentially-
No.
What do they
essentially,
fucking call it?
Tommy, you're looking at a cancer spot in your lawn, and you're like, man, I don't want to see that anymore, right? If I don't do something about it, it's just gonna stay there. You know what I should do? I should bring it in and fucking eat it.
No, that's not what we're
Like,
saying, right? What
it's-
we're
I
saying
think we
that's
just
what
cut the
you're-
loose
that's
ends.
that's not what
you
we're saying, right?
specifically are saying.
What we're saying is that like you have like fucking you have fucking like a pile of dirt in your front yard, right? You know what I'm saying? You got like a big pile of dirt, right? Like and it's just sitting in the corner of your goddamn yard and it's just like an eyesore. What you do is take that dirt and spread it all over your fucking yard and then like let the grass grow up through it. Right. So now like it's no longer there. It's just the dirt ends up mixing in with the rest of the dirt and you don't notice it anymore.
But people are more like soil than they are, or not. People are more like fluid than they are soil. And when you mix fluids together, they bond, but it forever changes the solution.
Oh yeah,
Well,
but
yeah,
like
everybody's
that's
I
gonna
mean, by
turn
your
gray
logic,
eventually.
But yeah,
should the
you're not going to be
Romans
the
have
same
wiped
person after
out?
you
Hold up.
mix.
By your logic, should the Romans have wiped out the Britannian Celts in England and then just brought Romans over to England so
If they
that they wouldn't
wanted
have
to
to deal with
conquer
the
it, yeah.
Britannian question? Just real quick, just 1 second. Because then we could just turn this into the Britannian question for the Romans, right? Let's see it from the other perspective, right? Um, the Romans were able to see the secret sauce of the Romans were that they were able to Romanize different groups of people, whether they liked it or not. They did it in
Well, we were
Europe,
more
they did it in
genetically linked
England,
to them.
they did it in North Africa, they did it everywhere. Same with the Greeks. The Greeks were able to Hellenize all the way down to fucking North India, guys. North
So
fucking India.
your
So
your
actually,
question,
you guys just suck. Hold up. If other groups are able to do this, right? To the point where you have a Greek island off the coast of Greece that still call themselves Romans, by the way,
You would have
right?
to use
but
a
they
Uh,
whole
aren't
bunch of
Romans.
eugenics in order
They're
for this. You would
Greeks.
have to use Hitler Youth tactics
no,
of breeding
these are all
nations
liberal
from
arguments. You guys
Sweden.
are just liberals. You guys are just another version
How
of
are we
Are you
liberals? You're the one who
slow?
wants to race mix.
Because, hold up. No. Because what I'm trying to
That doesn't
explain
make
to
any
you is
sense.
that every civilization, right, because you don't understand civilization, okay? If you look at all
Okay.
the civilizations of human history, you had foreign aristocrats going to rule different regions, even if they were not their own people. So
Hey,
when you
twin.
made that point earlier, so for example, if you look at even the Egyptian pharaohs, some of them have Caucasus blood. Some of the
I think
pharaohs
that
have Caucasus
honestly, the
blood from the
Marxists might have had a
Caucasus
better idea.
areas.
Just create civilization states instead.
Yes.
Have ethnic leaderships throughout certain areas of the nation and let them do what they want, you know?
America,
Or they can leave.
America should accept the
Okay, so
Articles of
you asked me from
But
the
like
point of view of the Romans a couple
Marx just
minutes
wants
ago.
feudalism
You
without religion or
you
tradition, and when
asked
you
me,
try that, it just evolves into
Jesus
what we have today.
Christ. You asked me like 5 minutes, no, 7 minutes ago about from the point of view of the Romans, if you were to take over the English islands, would you wipe out the English on there? Which they weren't English at the time, albeit. But
No, that's why I said the
yeah.
pertaining Celts, not the
Yes,
Anglo-Saxons. But you don't know
Shut
that.
up.
So, yeah.
Regardless, what you asked me was if I was to take over a place as the Romans, would I wipe them out or would I assimilate them? Seeing how things went for the Romans, right? Let's look at it from the perspective of the Romans versus the Germanics. If the Romans had the ability to not only wipe out the Celts but the Germanics as well and take it as their own territory, they would have been far better off doing so and would have likely still existed to this day as an ethnic group, and they would have had more territory.
That's not how they roll.
I
That's
don't
not
know,
how they roll,
man. It's
though.
a
They
lot of work
recruited.
killing off like 3 million people. It's a lot of work, and the
Oh,
Romans didn't even
right,
want
of
to do that.
course.
As the
What you're
bloodthirsty
No,
asking
they
me for
people
the
that
wanted
they
to kill a portion
was
and enslave a
were.
portion. They wanted to create like a new breed of man in their image. They weren't about that.
it's not what they were about. It's you asked me if I had to do it, right? For the survival of the Romans, the best thing to do is to wipe out your enemies, not to assimilate them,
No, no,
as
no,
we've seen.
no. The Romans literally took all the women and fucking like kept them as sex slaves, and then wiped them out in that way. That's how they wiped
Was
them out.
the death of the Roman Empire not a loss of identity?
No, the death of the Roman Empire was like a lot of things. It was what we're going through right
What was
now, which
that
is
not?
urbanization, bro. Death of the Roman Empire was urbanization.
I don't know. I think filling the courts with Germanics in a Roman court was probably not the best move.
I mean, like, let's go real fundamental with it. Like, they actually went through and they started like looking at like females in Rome, right? Like the upper class females and like the aristocracy in Rome. Like they decided they didn't want to have kids anymore because like it was too dangerous and they might die. So they just
There was a
stopped breeding.
confluence of factors.
Yeah.
There
Like
was
there
a
was so
whole
much.
bunch of shit.
Yeah, it was so much.
They had like a bunch of shitty weirdo emperors. They had fucking a diluted population, a diluted citizenry, right? Where a lot of people had rights and say, like all of the founding principles just turned to shit over a lot of time,
Yeah, and that was all urbanization, bro. That was just like too
and they
much pleasure,
shifted.
right? Too many slaves, all that type of
Look,
shit.
But I
You
would
know,
ask how
I
much
just
of
want
the
to point out
Romans are actually
something that
Roman.
I need. No, I just wanted to look. There's something that you guys have to understand about history. If you read not just European history, but histories from around the world, what you'll quickly realize is that what you think is ethnic homogeneity is actually just different groups of aristocrats ruling different regions. So if you look at the Habsburgs and how they ruled over different parts of Europe, or how Russia, uh, uh, Nicholas and George and who's the Wilhelm were all first cousins, right? What you actually notice is that even there were many times in our histories for the thousands of years where we were ruled by foreign aristocrats. If you look 3,000 years ago, all the patrilineal European lines were killed off by Yamnayans who came here and outcompeted and killed all uh, the European patrilineal lines and replaced them with Yamnaya lines. If you go and look at the East Asia, for example, right? There are Manchurians who will come over and take over and rule China. There are Mongolians who will rule over and take over China. Um, what you think is our ethnically homogenous aristocratic groups are not always necessarily so. Many civilizations have been created with foreign elites ruling over different groups of people. Even England alone, you had Roman aristocrats come and rule. Then you had the Anglo-Saxons who pushed out the Britannian Celts to west and north. Then you had the Norman conquering, where the Normans killed off or exiled 10,000 Anglo-Saxon elites and aristocrats and exiled them to the mainland or killed them off. Then England was ruled by French aristocracy, right? Then you had the Plantagenets. I can never say their fucking name. Plantagenets. Then you had, the Germans, right? So, like, all of England has been ruled by foreigners for the last 2,000 years, not Britannian Celts. Britannian Celts are not the source of English civilization, nor Britannian civilization, Britannica, nor anything, actually. Like, Britons haven't been in charge of their own country for 2,000 years. I need you to understand that. I need you to understand that your ethnic, uh, you know, Britannians have not been in charge of England for the last 2,000 years. I need you to understand that there were foreign elites who came in to take over the ruling of this country, of the country of England.
Well, yeah, it was the
Once you
Germans.
understand,
Yes, but it just
correct,
so happens
absolutely.
that
Now
none
you
of us,
understand where I'm
none of
coming
us
from,
here are
right?
British.
So,
Are British,
correct.
including
I
you.
get okay. That's fine. That's okay.
Also,
I
none
didn't
of us
know that.
here,
I didn't
none
know
of us
that. I
here
thought you guys were a lot.
No, we're all Americans, right? And
I,
doubling
I get
down,
it, but you
Tom's an
guys are
Italian.
ethnically. Hold up. Wait.
And
Okay,
he
I get
won't
it. I know
shut
what
the
Thomas
fuck
is.
up. My God.
Yo, listen, yeah, fuck, yeah, yo,
Okay.
I've known
Yoda is just a jealous.
I've known Gio a long fucking time, right? Like fucking, like me and Gio's had a many conversations throughout the fucking years, and he never fucking ceases to fucking impress me with his goddamn fucking historical knowledge. I'll be honest with you, right? That's why I talk to the motherfuckers. I always like to learn. Right. You know what I mean? Regardless of whether or not he pisses everybody to fuck off by being long winded, I'd much rather absorb the information, right? Rather than fucking fight it and then check his shit out later. You know what I mean? To see whether or not he was right. Because he will stand here, Gio will hand you a fucking file that is like fucking 10 quadrillion fucking kilobytes fucking long, right? That's filled with just fucking raw audio books of everything that you want to ever fucking read. You know what I mean? And all these crazy histories that are fucking amazing, right? You know what I mean? And so, like, you had, like, yo, this guy
No, that's
is,
nice if it was a
There's a
monologue, but it's a
conversation at
conversation.
hand.
He's supposed to
Yeah.
allow other people to talk too.
right, I feel you, right? But,
What-
like, when we're, like, he has a lot to say, right? He has a whole brain full of fucking
That's
knowledge
great.
that, like, none of us have ever heard. It's like, there's another dude I like to talk
He can
to.
do this thing called take a breath and allow somebody else to talk too.
There's another
and
guy.
not interrupt other
God
people.
damn it. Listen, what the fuck's his fucking name? Not Dante. Fucking the other dude. But like, yo, listen, he has the same shit. But again, brilliant ass motherfucker, and I love conversating with him. He's super long winded, right? And I like absorbing information from these type of guys because this guy's fucking really, really fucking smart, and he comes to the same conclusions that I do. And like, I don't know how the fuck I come to the conclusions like without having any conversation. Like, I haven't talked to him for real, in like, fuck, probably like 6, 8, 10 months now. Right. And like literally, like, yo, me and him are on the same level. You gotta assimilate these motherfuckers biologically, which is your best fucking option. Right? You know what I mean? And that's the mentality. You know what I mean? It's fucking bananas.
You know what he agrees from the standpoint. Well, actually, I don't know what the fuck he agrees because he went on a 3-hour long rant about the European nobles. But
Right.
the discussion between you and I comes down to the fact that you want to mix the blacks and the whites, and down the line, if you mix them completely completely levelly as far as like not oil and water. You're making chocolate milk. You're
No,
just going to drive down the quality of the relative population.
that's not true.
Not to mention, we're not just talking from the stance of gods or from your nobles or from kings. We're talking from the stance of people who have either family or have their own children within this pool that we're discussing at the moment. So you're talking not only about your descendants, but the descendants of my own family.
Okay, all right.
And you would like to see them
right.
mixed.
Let's talk
Yes
about
and
it.
no, because it would be in the name of stability, right? Like right
Okay.
now, we just have pockets of fucking retards of all different colors, and the idea is that if you have pockets of black retards, they're going to be doing black retarded things forever. The only way to kind of stop it is to either fully expel them or somehow integrate them. And the best way to integrate is the old-fashioned way, through marriage and genetic mixing.
Well, they
Yeah.
actually had
Did
a
I do
lower
it
crime
justice
rate when they
there,
were
Tom?
segregated.
Thank you, sir. That'll do
Yeah.
well. Right. That'll do well.
Okay.
But like, yeah, the
My
whole point is, and this is the thing, right? This is very important to understand. We are inheriting the issues of like those who came before us and refused to deal with things, right? At the moment, what we're looking at is actual like real national issues for the first time, right? We haven't had these discussions about actual national issues in our country's entire fucking history, right? Because like we haven't, I mean, like had the chance because like it's been forming like an empire onto this fucking continent. And now while we're standing here and we're looking at this and we're having this conversation, we're going, okay, so how do we build a nation out of this? Right? Because like everybody's left us a giant mess. And like this has to be done with. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah. Now here's the
Yeah.
question: is it going to be forced from the top down, or is it somehow going to be compelled voluntarily? Like, can you meme your way to a better society
Yo,
in a grassroots effort?
I don't know, dog. Like
It's completely fucked.
and this is why I think the balkanization idea is better, right? Because like if you have real nations that people are proud of, I mean, and everybody is, all of a sudden then you no longer have like citizens, right? You have like fucking man, listen. You have like nation mates, you know what I mean? And then like it doesn't matter anymore about whether or not you're black, you're white, whatever the case is, you're all building towards something that's more important. And like that makes all this huge process like way easier. You know what I mean?
I do, but it's kind of like dependent on all these other. This is the ball of yarn, right?
Mhm.
So if we still have this weird debt money system for comfort,
Mhm.
then everyone, instead of having a community, what you have is a bunch of fucking state employees. Like everyone's a de facto state employee, and all the families are uh, effectively what fucking concerns that cooperate a little bit.
Well, think of it
Like we
more
have to
like
redefine roles.
think of it
entirely.
more like you are no longer like some like your citizenship actually means something, number one. And then number two, you're how do I put this? You're a member of a tribe that's surrounded by other tribes, right? You know what I mean? Like you're fucking you're part of the defense of that country again, right? Like you're actually like part of its history, and like you're building something that's bigger than you. You know what I mean?
So
I mean, we kind of do that
I
already in the form of like college teams.
Yeah. But this is much bigger, right? This is a much bigger thing.
It would have to be a little more significant, yeah.
Yeah. It has to be something like more like existential. What up, Cappy?
to address the previous point that you brought to me,
Mhm.
if you're going to argue it from the state of a nation or a tribe, as you said, then you should argue it from that point rather than from the as an owing to black people. Because if it's from an owing to black people, then it's an eye for an eye, in the sense of what you're discussing. If we burnt down their house, then we should burn our own house down to make it justified.
Now,
However, if it's from the state or stance of tribes, and for the simplicity in making it easier to form nations, then you have somewhat of a point. But why not? I don't know, cause a migration, which have happened throughout human history in the massive millions, not quite to the scale we have today, but it is far more capable with gas vehicles. Why not have one of those to allow them to form their own nation within an area where they all already inhibit?
yeah,
Well, it's
because
also giving them the ability to practice their own I don't know, farming and such. And if they fail,
Because
then they fail.
this is
They'll
Like
turn
they
it to
say.
shit.
this is actually
It
better.
would just become Zimbabwe.
Yeah. This is actually a better way to do it, right?
It's better for them.
It's better for everybody, right? Because like eventually, like we just be rescuing them for like the next fucking 1,000 years. Like they just,
Right.
you know
We
what I
have a
mean?
plot of land, and then we wall it the fuck off.
No, again,
Yeah,
you
well,
would
then you
just,
may as well just do that from the get go. You know.
yeah. You
Well-
literally have, you would just have a Zimbabwe on this country, on this continent, right?
This
Because
is
like
this is fine. I would rather have a stain than an entirely brown country.
you're not
Me
going
too.
to have a brown country. This is the fucking problem, buddy. Like this is the issue. You're not going
It's
to
gonna be
have a
gray.
brown. Shut the fuck up, twink. Goddamn, you're not going to have a brown country, right? And like, and this is like kind of important. What you would eventually have is a white country again, right? You know what I mean? Like you'd have better DNA. I'll be honest with you. You know what I mean? Like you'd have a much more diverse DNA set, which you fucking need desperately, right?
Yeah, your kids will have abs.
So,
Think about that. And big shoulders.
For the sake of your argument, then let's crunch the numbers as far as how many blacks to whites there is, because you can do ratios on that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
13%.
or 14%.
They're higher. They're 15. So what's the
No,
percentage?
no. They're
Like,
13%. They're
let's-
13% because their
we
birth
should
rate's been
go more
collapsed.
by numbers as far as millions.
Well, everybody gets a tan.
For a little bit.
Essentially, we're going to be forming a nation of what look like Hispanics.
Our kids are gonna look like Brittany Venti and Jonah Hill.
Brittany Bentley's not bad.
Everybody will look like Dwayne the Rock Johnson.
For a little bit. Right. Eventually,
No, the men are
all-
just gonna look
So
like
there's 48.3 million blacks in the United States as of
we're gonna have
2020.
Afro whites. We're gonna have Afro whites. We're fat.
212 million. Right. So basically, that's 4 times the population. Right?
Okay, so yeah, 202 million people. You said 212.
212.
So 48 versus 212. What's that margin?
Fucking that's 4 to 1.
48. Yes. So a quarter.
Yeah.
Now, a quarter is a significant number when you're mixing for the lack of simplicity, let's say, like once again, I'm going to go back to liquids. When you mix that, generally, if you add one part, let's say,
Chocolate.
one
Three
part
parts milk.
chocolate syrup to 4 parts, or to
Three
3
parts
parts
milk. Yeah, that's a pretty strong chocolate milk.
Doubling
Perfect.
down,
Like,
we're not
wait.
discussing
But here's
control,
the
we're
thing,
also
though, right?
discussing mental
Here's the thing, though.
capacity.
That quarter goes down to 7.5%, or goes down to like fucking 14 or 13.5% the second time, right? And then like the third
Right,
time,
You're not getting rid of it. You're only.
Why don't we just
spreading it out.
outbreed them?
Okay,
Why
stop.
don't we just start having kids again?
Wait a minute. That quarter goes down to 13.5% the second time, and then the third time it goes to 7.5%, right? Or it goes down to 7.25%, and then the fourth time it goes down to like fucking 3%. Then the fifth time it goes down to 1%.
Right, you're making everyone else.
Wait,
more.
hold on a second. You got to do the Punnett square if you want to really talk brass tacks. Then the liquid analogy isn't strong enough, right? You know multiple alleles.
Yeah.
You have dominant recessive genes. It's not exactly like a surefire thing. Like what you're going to get if you take a 3-to-1 mixture of milk and chocolate. You don't really know what you're going to get when it comes to genetics. Like it'll kind of smooth out on a curve.
Nah, like
However,
so.
what Tom is suggesting is that it'll entirely dissolve the black population, wherein it won't do that. It'll just combine them.
No, it'll just dissolve them, right? But it takes 5 generations. Is the bitch. This is we haven't been told, like we have not had a conversation about anything more than like the next 10 years in the past fucking 280.
Yeah, that's because we have four-term fucking administration, 4-year term administrators, and long-term thieves.
How long has it been since we've had natives in the area, Tom?
Since 1760.
Okay, and how often do you see native traits in the local population?
Almost never.
I see it quite often. You see dark, straight hair, not comparable to European traits. You see tanning. You see,
No, like what you're seeing is white
The
people.
nose.
No, you're just seeing white people, right?
but they're
Well-
different from Europeans, are they
No,
not?
no, like fucking. So like, okay, Twink, I swear to God, if you keep talking, I'm just gonna
No,
boot
my
you.
mom has different genes than my dad. I know this.
Okay, anyway, right? So I don't. Yeah, I hope so. I hope you're not inbred, right? But like fucking. So what we're talking about, right, is we're talking about Indo-Europeans, right? So Indo-European DNA still exists in like, I mean, like white people, right? And there's a lot of whites around here who are like Germans, Northern Germans in particular, right? You know what I'm saying? And those traits still exist. I mean, they're gonna pop out every once in a while. You'll see that. I mean, that's why like you're like a German, but like you fucking have like the traits of like a Hungarian. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and by the way, he's not wrong. The whole blood debt to black people thing does offend my racist sensibilities.
It offends my nationalist sensibilities because they're not my people.
He's not wrong.
Right.
It's a divisive phrase.
Yeah, I feel you.
You're gonna win some, lose some.
I think
What?
this is divisive, though. I don't think black people would volunteer for this.
I mean,
Hey, Beanoid.
what up?
There's a mobile gas station employee who unfortunately has to clean up my piss off of their floor because I read while I was taking a piss that you changed that faggot's name to Warren Peace,
I did
and
not.
I laughed way too fucking hard at
I
it.
did not.
Oh,
I did not
jeez.
change his fucking name.
I didn't do it. I can't do it.
I can't either.
Fire.
Yes.
Yeah, I was having a side quest with fucking Cappy, and I was basically saying everything in DM that he couldn't say correctly.
Yeah. Listen, I have it. Actually, I've been recording this on UBS for like a little bit now. Fucking like, because I'm gonna throw it up on my Substack. But like, yeah, fucking, what I mean, it's super interesting conversation. But yeah, fucking Geo, you want to change your name? I don't fucking care, right? But yeah, like fucking, you gotta like, yeah, as I said, so like every generation, the fucking percentage gets smaller, right? You know what I mean? And like there'll just be less and less and less, and it'll just fucking disappear. But you have to be willing to do that shit.
Did you not just say that there's traits that pop up through the Indo-Europeans, even though they haven't really truly existed?
Yeah. So you'll have like
years?
white people with curly hair.
You're gonna have white people who have a higher tendency for violence, lower IQs, etc.
They
I
already
would
exist.
disagree with that.
Yeah.
A
You
lot
gotta
of
have
that is
They
basketball
already
already.
exist.
whites.
You're gonna
Yeah.
like there are margins.
So
that
we're all gonna
exist,
be
right?
wiggers, basically.
Oh my god, they already
Twink,
What's gonna
exist.
happen?
Twink is like kind of fucking right for this one. Keeping it a buck.
Link is not right.
You guys were already wiggers anyway. Holy shit. Like, you guys were always the Hobbits. You're not fucking Rohan or fucking
How is the
Gondor.
north part of your country doing right now?
What's it, bro? Why are you talking about my country when we're talking about your country, you little bitch ass, like little fucking redneck piece
Two for
of shit
two.
who
You're
doesn't even
looking
have
at this
anything
from
to
the
be proud
outside,
about?
right?
Like, you guys
You're
didn't build
not going
shit.
home
You guys
unscathed
farmed.
if you're gonna
You
say
guys
that.
didn't build shit. You didn't do shit. You didn't build shit. You guys were niggers before fucking Roman aristocrats came and changed you. Stop with this nonsense.
You're
You didn't
really,
build
you're
shit.
really
You
fucking
should thank
talking a whole
God for
lot
the
of spice
Romans.
for
You should
Chinaman.
kiss their fucking feet. You should kiss their fucking feet. You had no civilization before the
Whose
Romans.
language are you
Stop
using right
capping.
now?
Stop capping. Stop capping. Stop lying. All right, you're the hobbits.
Wait,
You're
wait,
not
how
the
much?
fucking
Wait,
Gondor.
I
You're
have a
not
question.
Rohan.
Wait, I have a
You're
question.
not the
Not native
elves.
Canadian,
You're not the
right?
dark elves. You're not Mirkwood. You're the fucking hobbits.
I have a
You're the
question.
fucking
Wait.
hobbits. All
I
right,
have a
stop.
question. I have a
This is
question.
pathetic.
Bruh, I have a question. I have
This
a
is
question.
pathetic.
I have a question. Wait, Cappy, I have a question for you, buddy. What percentage of your language is Latin?
A very large amount.
Yeah,
But
it's 40%.
I'm not
And
denying
what
that the
percentage of
Romans
it
had a
is
part in
French?
everything.
What
But I'm
percentage
saying
of it
he's
is
not Rome. He's
French?
looking at this
Yo, it's
from
like
the outside.
10% French, and then like fucking it's 10% French, and then another like 40% German.
Oh my god. Jesus Christ, dude! These
Yeah.
people are pathetic, bro. Like it's like this is it's like listening to niggers saying, we're gonna make civilization." No, you're not. No, you're not. You weren't the ones who built civilization. Neither are you guys. Neither are you
I
Celts.
think you missed the
Neither are you
entire
lower
argument
class
for this,
Anglo-Saxons.
because that's not what we were talking about at all.
Like yo, I'm
Look,
like yo,
what I'm saying is
I'm
like the bottom 90% is irrelevant in most societies.
Hey,
It's like
Cappy,
literally
he's
irrelevant. You might as well
literally
just
We
buy me
weren't
proving
the
talking
Indian
about that
that
dollar.
he
at
reads the
all.
side chat. Cappy, he's literally proving that he reads the side chat, and he's extremely butthurt about him being portrayed by the other person who can't actually say words.
I feel you,
Bless
Yoda,
his
but
heart,
that's
man.
not where we're
What
at,
does that have
right?
to do with
We're having a
anything? It doesn't
completely
matter.
separate
Like,
discussion from the European elites, and he just keeps going back to it.
right,
He's
because
but
I'm trying to show you that the lower class isn't what you make it out to be. And you guys are more similar than different.
We're more similar to what? Niggers, you say?
Look, it took Christianity to teach you fuckers how to read. It took like 1800s and 1700s and like literacy and Christianity to teach you guys how to read, right? It took like foreign religion to teach you how to read, just FYI.
what's
Just
it going to
FYI,
Right?
Christianity
Like,
is not a
weren't
European
you just shitting
religion,
on Protestants like
right?
a couple minutes ago
Just
when they were the ones that
FYI, I know you
brought this
forget
up?
this, but
The Protestants were
I
the
don't know,
ones that
bro. At
allowed
this point,
the peasants to read.
yeah. I mean, he's not wrong,
exactly my
right?
point.
I
And where
mean,
did Protestantism come from? It came from Catholicism as anti-Catholic Christianity,
Yeah,
right?
that's not my point. I'm saying you're doubling
Right.
down on some shit that you were arguing against earlier.
what?
What am I arguing? What am I doubling down on that I
You've
disagree?
been shitting on Protestantism the entire night, but now you're using it as a tool.
Yeah, I'm against mass literacy, but that's a separate issue. I'm just talking about the values that you think created the
So
West. For
then
me, it wasn't mass literacy.
if you're
It was
against it,
like
then
Europe.
why are
It
you
was
using
Western
it as a
elites
crutch?
essentially.
Yo,
Right.
who was it? Who was it? Yo, who I just read
I'm
somebody.
not. I'm pointing out.
Yo, Gio, who was it? I read somebody who said this shit that mass literacy. Oh, Edward Bernays
know.
said that shit. Edward Bernays said fucking mass literacy has
Yeah.
led to like the fucking the like not. It didn't lead to individualism and like freedom of thought. It led to men to being more slavish.
Yes, absolutely.
Which I would
Absolutely.
generally agree with
Rousseau
you
was
on.
warning about this at the beginning of the Enlightenment. He said, like, why are we letting retards read and like spread ideas? They don't even know what they're talking about.
So that they can
And
buy more toilet
Plato
paper
said the
on
same
sale.
thing. You should have,
Obviously,
yeah, that we, yeah. And Plato was warning about this as well. He's like, we have bad poets in Athens, and we have good, good poets, but good poets are extremely rare. So why are most people become like? Why do we have so many poets who suck dick for what reason? And we've just maximized that idea. That's all we've done.
because it was the on ramp to massive liberal arts degrees, and you see how well that's working out.
Absolutely, absolutely. The middle class is to blame for so many of our problems. Honestly, if you guys like, I said earlier about the virtue signaling of the middle class women of England in the 1800s, where they wanted to donate money to Africa and India in the 1700s rather than help their own fellow.
Yeah. You know what? You brought that up before, and what I wanted to mention was, did you see the chart about the left love rocks more than their own people?
Yes, and this is like so ingrained in the Western civilization. This was happening in the 1700s in Europe and 1800s, not in America, not just in America, right? That's what I'm trying to point out there. It has to be something deeper than democratic values alone or just American values alone. It has to be something that both unites the American values and the British values that lead to this stance. And that's what I'm trying to point out. It can't just be Americanism. It has to be something in Europe in the
It has
1700s
to
that
be
lead to this.
beat into them.
Right.
This is how some people will develop, right? It has to be beat into them.
All right, yo, listen, Cappy, I want you to look at something. All right, put it in the side chat real quick. Okay. Do you see this right here?
Yes.
This is from before, right? This country existed. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is from before this country existed.
Yeah.
Right? This is my family fucking history. Right? You understand that, like, we were literate in 2 languages before most of y'all were literate in 1.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
But there was Kangs and shit.
Yo,
But they was gangs.
Yo,
It was
listen.
gangs of hilltop fortresses and shit.
Yo, like what I'm trying to explain to you is right is that there's a difference, right, between like different people. Okay, there's humans, you know what I
Yep.
mean, who like we're like always like above other motherfuckers, and then there's people who were like, you know what I mean, made to work, right? And I understand like where your argument is. I get it 100%, right? Because like I do want to preserve my gene line. I get it because it's actually important. But for most humans, it's not. Most of y'all don't have anything like this. Nothing. You have no fucking idea where you came from. Like if you
I have
said,
nothing
if I asked you
loyal
where
to
was your family in 1500, you would have no fucking idea. I know where mine
Yeah.
was. I know exactly where they were. I know their names. I know when they were born. The difference, right? There's a fucking difference. This is the thing, right? You know what I'm saying? So like when we say like we're building something new, and I'm willing to give up that old shit for something new that's beautiful, right? You know what I mean? Like I'm willing to go, listen, I get where I come from. I know my people and whatnot, right? But like you have to look off into like, telescopic philanthropy, right? You have to look off into the fucking distance and go, there's something bigger than this. There's more. Right? There's things that we can form that are like fucking gigantic and be part of human history that's like so much bigger than anything we can think of. Right? But you had to give up like the fucking ideas that you have today of what it is.
Ask not what black pussy can do for you, but what you can do for black pussy.
Mm. Right?
So, in essence, it is about burning all of the books in order to write new ones.
Basically. It's about not staying in the same goddamn place
like,
that's fucking terrible.
Like a lot of people don't realize, as much as Plato has influenced Western civilization for the good, and so we have what we have today to some extent. He also was a total socialist. He was saying, why can't we just divide up all the land to all the people, and that would solve all of our problems? And maybe there's some truth to that in a very uh, you know, temporary time period where that would happen with agricultural age, but eventually after 50 years you would have the unfairness of the hierarchy, and that's what he realized.
I
And
have a
he
question
wrote
for you,
the
Gio.
Republic, right? Yeah, one last thing. He wrote the Republic saying, why don't we just distribute all the land? And Jefferson was literally a Platonist. He said the exact same thing. We should divide all the land to all the poor people in the South, and we would have peace forever and ever. Amen. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's romantic, but what you don't end up in Star Trek. You end up in Snowpiercer.
I
Yes.
do have.
And look,
My
like
question
actually,
being,
like just as
do you speak in metaphor?
go ahead. I speak in many different ways, as in person who's well read should. I don't know what you mean. Yeah, sometimes I speak in metaphor, sometimes I speak matter of factly. Um, I don't know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like
trying
sometimes
to draw
sometimes you got to be
a
like,
quick.
you got to do like sophisms, and sometimes you have to do metaphors. Sometimes you got to do like direct. Sometimes you have to do
I'm
anecdotal
asking a
shit, right?
question
You know
for
what I
a
mean? It just
reason.
depends on what the situation is. That's how communication works, dog. Right? He's
Dog,
talking
I'm
about
asking the
Plato.
question for a reason, right? Because
Right.
like it looks like he's coming out of left field, but he's clearly intelligent. So I'm trying to catch where he's coming from and what he's using.
Oh yeah, I told you to read the Republic. Right. Listen, you got to read the Republic. Highly important. You know what I mean? Got to read the
You gotta
Republic.
read all of this shit. I mean, you gotta look like
Yo, he's
from
young.
my
Yo,
perspective, the problem with the Anglos right now.
Gio, he's 21.
No, I get it. But this is why it's so hard sometimes talking about these subjects because he's young and I can't fault him for that. But then I can't sit here and explain for 3 hours why I think the way I do with all my citations and sources for him to get me to realize that. I have to sometimes just say things to make him rethink what I'm saying, and not the way he thinks I'm saying it, but in the way that I'm properly saying it. And it's hard to do. I get it.
Yeah,
That's how
what I'm
kind of
saying is
merely
like, yo, listen,
searching
he's
for context.
21, right? His pop passed, right, when he was like 18, right? And like I went and hung out with him last summer, and there's a bunch of shit around his house that like, he has no idea how to fucking fix, right, by himself because his dad didn't teach him any of this shit.
Yeah.
That was a fucking boomer.
But
Right.
this is Anglo individualism.
I know, dog. I know, dog. Listen, and we're building him. We're building him little by little, and he's getting way better. And he's getting way better by leaps and bounds. You know what I mean? Every day he's getting better and he's reading and he's doing shit and he's like fucking, he's getting there. You know what I mean? But like, he has a lot of work to do yet. It takes a long time. And he's 21, be thankful he's willing to go through like the effort to fucking try to get where he is right now and listen to what you're saying. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get it. Yeah.
I'm trying with him.
Sometimes it's just me not explaining it properly. I get it. Yeah. And sometimes it's just me not explaining it properly, you know, so I'm trying to figure out different ways to, you know, get the point across. I get it.
Are you saying words like a fag?
A fag, man.
Get back to my TikToks.
Yeah. That's actually my thesis against the West, that actions are more important than words. And word cells is why we got here. And listening to philosophers is how we got here. So, like, we are missing, like, all of the Western history is basically steppe people coming over and ruling over farming people. And same with Asia, by the way. And saying, we're going to rule over you because you guys are too egalitarian. And we're going to create hierarchical systems and create civilization and create all these things. But we also know that if we were to expose all this art and science to you guys, you would misuse it. So we're going to make sure that only the priest class and the military class and these aristocrats can do these things. And then like the middle class gets jealous, just like if you look at the Greek mythology, it's a great explanation of this, right? First you have Kronos, right? Then you have like the Greek Olympian gods who rebel against Kronos and say, you know, we know better than you. We're going to take down Father Time. We don't need time anymore, actually. We 12 of the Olympian gods are beyond and above you, and you're just stopping us. So they rebel against Kronos. And then their children, the Titans, rebel against them. And just like the middle class rebels against the upper class, and the upper class rebels against the king, the slaves will rebel against the middle class, and the serfs will rebel against the middle class.
Yeah,
that's what the middle class doesn't understand. Absolutely. That's what the middle class and the lower classes don't understand. You're not better than the aristocrats. If you were, you would be doing what they're doing. Because that's it.
And it plays out over time, though. Like that's kind of the thing, right? So I think that ties more into like how your government structure treats citizenry and inheritance, and like any type of societally embraced, what would you say, notion of responsibility to your heritage. It's almost like there's a proclivity to just like let the women go wild, fuck everything in sight until someone shows up with like truckloads of fucking hijabs and like, all right, reset.
Yeah, agreed. And like, if you look at, you know, the practice that we have in the Americas and England to this day in rural areas, where if you get married, you jump over a broomstick to show that like there's been a change in the relationship, right? That's been around since Greek and Roman pagan times, in like 3,000 years ago. So that practice has been brought over to England by the Romans and practiced until now. That's a 3,000-year lineage of a tradition that Americans and Anglos have been practicing. Think about that.
Yeah.
Well, it's all breaking now, isn't it?
True.
Yeah.
I mean, like, breaking now. I told my dad last night.
And the Romans and the Greeks. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I told my pops last night, me and him were having a conversation, right? And he asked me, he asked why I'm taking care of him. And like, you know, I mean, he said like, this is basically a job. And I said, nah, bro, like I'm not getting paid to do this. You know what I mean? Like I ain't making any fucking money doing this shit, right? Like I'm taking care of you because I want my kids to see this, right? I want my kids to understand that responsibility. Right, I want them
to. It's a cycle.
It's a cycle. And I want to restart the cycle. You know what I'm saying?
The problem is in an individualist society, it's impossible because before it was a duty passed on to you, and you had no choice in the matter. Now you do. Yeah. That's the problem. In America,
like
anybody can be like.
Guarantees.
You have to like listen. We have culture. We have these things. They exist. Right, they're biological. They're coded onto us. Right? Like all that shit. Right, and all we have to do is pick them up and pull them out of the goddamn mud. right? Like
Yeah, that takes effort. Like
that's what
there's
I'm
still
doing.
the option
Yeah,
to shut
it
it.
takes a lot.
That's what I'm doing. I'm
Yeah,
pulling it out of
but
the mud.
like,
No,
no,
you're doing it,
hold
but
up.
there's no
The thing
guarantee that
that
it's going to
no,
continue. I'm not trying to shit on
absolutely,
it. I
like the
think
thing
it's,
that
I
you're not
love it.
realizing. Yeah, like me and
Um,
Mountain agree on this, and we agree with you in theory. But the problem is, right? The reason why most people did these things was because you relied on your family against reality more than the upper classes and the middle classes. And when there was no welfare system, then your community and your family were your welfare system. Once you give the state as an alternative, it's over. It's over because now you're allowing an out. And not only that, if you have a strong middle class where the son can just move out because getting an apartment on his own is so cheap and easy, then that's another layer of where it's extremely hard to do. Now, any son like Benjamin Franklin can run away and be like, "Fuck my family, I'm going to start a new family." Anyone can do that. It's
Yeah.
impossible.
But what
yeah,
I'm saying
you had to be
is
pretty
like,
hardy to be cast in the past. Now it's fucking super easy. Like
yeah,
retards do it.
but like what
Why don't we just give people money to have children?
Yeah, listen, you have to give dudes money. But like the thing is like what I'm saying is like if we don't
Taste.
stand here and pick it up out the mud, right? You know what I mean? Like if you have kids, like you don't have kids, but like me and Mountain have kids, right? If you have kids, right, and like you show them the example of what it is, you know what I mean, and what it's supposed to be, right? They have that understanding fundamentally then of going like, okay, listen, when I get old, you know what I mean, like, yo, my kids will take care of me, and when my dad gets old, I'll take care of him, right? But you got to pull that out of the mud, right? Because like it's only been gone for 2 generations, right? And it can come back. You know what I mean? But we have to be willing.
Well,
No,
it's gonna
the thing
fucking
is, you
have
don't.
to.
The thing is, no, it's really hard to bring back culture. If you look historically, it's really hard to bring back like an old civilization back to what it was.
Well,
And if you do it, it's extremely rare and hard to do. Once you start losing it, it's gone. And
well, historically speaking, yeah, but
Kind of.
now we have like
Here's the thing: there,
video,
like
we have
a lot of people
movies.
are just brain damaged from cell phones, but there's going to be a large outside force to break the inertia, and that's going to be like economic hardship.
correct. That's exactly me and Mountain agree on this exactly. That the only way to bring that back is to get rid of every welfare program and then for there to be a Great Depression. That is the only way
Instead
to
of
bring
getting
that
rid of
back.
the welfare
And
programs, we could just
but anyway, even if you do that, like the first generation is gonna be miserable as fuck, where people are gonna shoot each other, kill each other, hate each other, attack each other, lock each other out of their apartments, etc., all that shit. It's gonna happen. But once you get through that first or second generation, hopefully, but then from my perspective, without aristocrats and a church, you can't build up good values amongst your people.
Yeah.
It's the aristocrats who are forcing your
This would have
people
worked like
to be
100
good,
years
to be
ago.
Christian, to stop lying, to stop, cheating, to stop doing all these things, and then the enforcement of the law on top of that. But nowadays, it's getting harder and harder to do.
Listen. So like, here's what this is, right? So like, okay, I get what you're saying. I completely agree with you remotely, right? But the welfare system has been, you know, what I mean, like, folded in to write that dynamic now, right? You know what I'm saying? Like, it's literally like in like, you know, like black neighborhoods, in, you know, what I mean, like poor white neighborhoods, and whatever it is, the welfare system is now like, you know, where you squat up with welfare and you utilize that to maintain your family structure, and it just keeps going, right? And it's multi-generational, that it actually holds families the fuck together, right? Because like motherfuckers rely on that and they all eat together off of that, right? And like, again, you can do these things. They can be fucking done. You just got to pull it out of the mud. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. You just use this welfare system to certain
Yes, but the saying the phrase "pull it out of the mud" is really easy to say, but the actual process of doing that is extremely hard. Is what
That's what the Germans did during World War
There has to
One.
be an alternative to welfare. Right now, there isn't. Like our economy is being
Correct.
exported, and we're
It's not
importing
welfare, it's
other people.
unfair.
I get that it's hard.
It's like playing fucking keep away with a cat. So that would be first step, right? And as far as an aristocratic, moral daddy, I think we're going to have Hitler before that.
Yeah,
I agree.
There's going to be a wish
I'm
for
not
a kid.
disagreeing with you either, Mountain. I agree. You and I then agree on a lot of things here. I think that we're going to go through a far right reaction, just like it. And it's not even right wing in the way that they say it. It's not traditionalists or conservatives or royalists or
No, it's
monarchists who are
just going to be
rebelling. That would
not
be a
left.
true right wing.
It's just going to be
Correct.
not
It's just
left from it.
another. Correct. But
The
it's
new
just going to
Elon
be like
Musk.
just to me, like all these fascists are just taking nationalism to a higher degree than like the classical liberals want them to, right? But they never told you exactly what much is too much, and now they're just mad that um it's showing that nationalism has its faults too, right? So all this populism and nationalism are anti